Welcome to a special edition of Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus, brought to you by Geico. And this is our Wyoming Black 14 edition for Black History Month. Want to enjoy it? We'll have these for the next couple of weeks. We'll have about 6 or 7 shows. And later on in this show, we'll show you how you can get one of these Black 14 t-shirts. But for now, enjoy.
She wanted to move someplace warm.
But he wanted snow for the holidays. So we built a snow globe.
Get that later.
But the one thing we could both agree on was getting Geico to help with our homeowner's insurance.
What?
Switching and saving was really easy.
I love you!
Sweetie, hands off the glass.
Ugh.
Call Geico and see how easy saving on homeowners and condo insurance can be.
I love her!
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. We told you that we were going to do something unique this week. We were out in the University of Wyoming last week, and we had them honoring a group called the Black 14. If you haven't heard about the Black 14, we'll try to enlighten you a little bit right now about what it was about. It was about 14 young men, and they call it now 50 Years of Courage. 50 years ago, 14 black young athletes were put off a team because they wanted to protest the treatment that they were having with Brigham Young University. It came really nasty and ugly, and what I want to do on this show, and you know what, we're not wearing makeup, we're not doing anything. You see this shirt? This is my brother's shirt. This is the Black 14, and what I want you to know is my fans, how each and every one feel. So we're gonna have this week a Black 14 just kicking it. I'm gonna start with one of the most talkative individuals, but has done a lot, and we'll get a lot of information on the team. He and I were really the only two that had played against Brigham Young. So it was our idea to wear black armbands. His name is Guillermo Haro. Guillermo, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You know I'm nervous with you, Guillermo, because you know you always own me, man. What's up?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the Black 14. You know,
Right.
It changed your life, but it changed it for the better. But reflect back to me, if I didn't know, when did your feelings start to come about the Black 14? When did you start feeling about Brigham Young? Was it the game we played prior to that year? You felt the treatment that you got, and what feelings did you have when we went into being the Black 14?
Well, in terms of the game itself, yeah, it was the year before when we were actually there and they turned the sprinklers on us. We were the last two coming off the field. They turned the sprinklers on us, and my recollections can be corrected. However, I remember going into the locker room and I saw a picture of a gorilla and a black man. And I'm wondering, what's that all about? And then we went to the water and I was wondering, what was that all about? We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but it wasn't just us because other team members, you know, they didn't turn around and say, you know, how come you guys are coming in here wet? You know, so I started thinking about that. It was the next day that, and somebody to this day can't seem to find the Salt Lake Tribune's headline on the front page, not the sports page, that said Brigham Young washes evil off the field. So I'm thinking, okay, so that's what the sprinklers was about. And then I started to do a little research on the LDS church. And then hearing the whole story about how they were being kicked out all across and then revelations that Brigham had. And one of the revelations he had was that we were descendants of Ham or Cain, depending on which version you read, of the Book of Mormon, and that we were cursed.
Black men can never rise to the higher echelon of man.
That's right. Couldn't go to heaven after death. Couldn't be a Mormon priest because we were lower than the lowest order of life, which was the primate. So then that brought into perspective the gorilla and the black man.
Let me ask you this, Guillermo, and you and I were the ones that played against them.
Right.
And when we went into the meeting that night and we went into Black Student Alliance meeting, we knew that we had the power.
Right.
But we also knew that we were 4-0. We had opportunity to go to the Sugar Bowl.
Right.
What did you feel? I felt like we were about to lose something, but I felt we had to do something. And that's when the Black Student Alliance asked us to wear armbands.
That's right.
But we took it back to the team.
That's right.
And what was your feeling at that moment personally for you?
It was a changing moment. It was a life-changing moment. And I know we all had to make decisions. My life, once again, flashed in front of me. It happened once earlier on where I had been pushed in a pool by a group of white kids in my neighborhood. And I was drowning. And I was feeling like I was drowning again. And the lifeguard sitting in the chair and not jumping in to save me. And each time I'd sink to the bottom, I started thinking, you know, my life is ending. And then I couldn't swim. And so when my feet hit the bottom, something compelled me to push myself forward. I got back to the top and took a breath. That moment was like me taking that breath all over again. And then I sunk back down again, and I'm going down again, and I'm thinking, nobody's coming in to save me. And then after I hit it again, each time I'd push in an angle till I got to the side. And then I turned around and looked at the lifeguard, and he said, "You almost drowned, huh?"
You know what that reminded me of? I was on the field that same game that year, and I wasn't swimming because I can't swim, but at the same time, I got cheap shotted by one of the players.
Right.
And I remember the one thing I did, I said, okay, we can't fight these guys. So I went over to the official, and I said, this guy's cheap shotting me. He hit me in the back of my leg. The official said, shut up, go play the game.
Right, right.
And one player stood up for me then. His name was Larry Nails. He said, we'll get him, McGee.
That's right.
You know, we did, and we went, and everybody knew about how Eaton treated us and everything. Yeah. But give me your feelings when we knew we were off the team, we had nowhere to go, and Willie Black had really played a game with us. Yeah. And you had no scholarship, no money, no school, no prospect, unless you wanted to go back to Eaton and try out for your job. Exactly. What was your feeling?
You know, it was kind of ironic because I had a calm came over me. I felt that I had been saved, even though I thought it was going to be. And what he did was a defining moment in my life because I went from a young man to a man. I didn't want to call myself a boy, even though that's the way I thought he saw us. And then I think the fear was in him because now he didn't know how to deal with 14 black men. We weren't boys anymore. And to me, that was my point of manhood. You know, we didn't go out and kill a lion. We ain't in Africa to establish our manhood. So what did we do? We stood on principle. And I'm sitting there thinking as I'm listening to him, and it enraged me. Why am I not, you know, doing what you almost did? You were trying to get up out of the thing.
I slipped.
You know, right. You slipped, all right, and we pulled you back down. So I'm thinking, you know, why did I just sit there and take that? Because I was supposed to. I was supposed to hear what he said because it was a defining moment in my life.
What was what words did he use that really hurt you the most in that meeting?
You know, I thought he personalized his commentary.
Now I'm speaking of Lloyd Eaton
I'm talking about Lloyd Eaton.
Yeah, I know. You fans don't know, but that's who we're referring to.
Yeah, Lloyd Eaton made the comment that Most of you come from split homes and broken families and don't know who your father is. Well, who was that? It might have been the other guys, but I didn't think that. So it definitely was me. And I didn't meet my father until I was on the way to Wyoming, out at the airport at LAX. And he walks up to me. And then he says, and I'm the only father that some of you ever know. Well, I didn't see him as a father image. But that hurt because the only time I felt like I was really part of the team was when I put on the uniform. Because guess what? Everybody else had on the same uniform. Everybody else had the same shoes. I didn't have my bibbed overalls. And
You mean like I wore?
Like
Tell
you
him,
wore,
yeah,
and I
sure.
did too.
Yeah, I was a rebel rider.
Right,
You
same
know,
here. My little Kangol hat and my bibbed overalls. I only had 3 pair of overalls, one striped, one blue, and one faded. And so I thought, you know, this guy's talking about me. And so that's when I kind of rocked back and started really trying to internalize what he said.
You know, he said some personal things about me, but the one that bothered me wasn't really about me, is when he said, why don't you go back home, all of you, and get on colored relief?
Yeah.
If you don't know what I mean, Negro relief.
Right.
And that's when I knew that who he really revealed to me who he was. But what I want to do with each of you tonight, you were very successful. Tell me what your life was after you left. You had to do it quickly because Mike Baker's talking about we need to take a break. But I know what you did, and I want each one of you players to let the world know what you did when you left here.
Okay. Academically, I was very successful in acquiring a number of degrees and advanced degrees. Corporately, you know, I was selected as one of the top executives at General Motors, launched a number of first in the industry programs that are still there today, was recruited by Lexus and Toyota to name the Lexus division, launched the Lexus division worldwide, the highest ranking African American worldwide, had a lot of industry firsts in the automotive industry, first national advertising manager, first marketing manager, first corporate manager, first national vice president, first executive vice president of 2 car divisions, Fortune 500 company, the only African American that sat on the board. So I had a lot of first in my life. But the thing that was the most prolific, the most profound, was the Black 14. Why? Because those other things were only known by people in the industry. But guess what? The umbrella for all of this is who we are now and why we're sitting here today. That was what I was reflecting on with Eaton, fast forward to my life and what it had become. So that's why I'm thankful that I was able to be honored amongst the men that are here today, those that have all died ahead of us, those that are ill and can't be here. But guess what? They're the Black 14. And we will be the Black 14 forever. And that legacy will never change. And it empowered me, it gave me the strength and the courage and the perseverance, the tenacity to be who I am and who I will be, because my life's not over yet.
So it did not define you.
It did not define me.
You heard it from Guillermo Haro. You may look around and you'll see it, Willie Haro. We're not allowed to call him that now, but Guillermo said it the way we want to say it. And the thing about it is, each and every one of these brothers that I have tonight, they have the same types of story. And what that did is tell us that Eaton didn't break us, we broke him. Right. We broke that school for a while. We broke a lot of things, but we coming back because 50 years of courage, that's what they said, that's what we are. And we're glad that you're listening. I'll be back in a moment with another one of the Black 14. You come on back as well.
Geico makes it easy to get help when I need it. With licensed agents available 24/7, it's not just easy. It's having Jerome Bettis on your flag football team easy. Go get him, Bus!
Come on, Bus. Come on. Hey, wait. I'm glad I got the flag. I got your flag. I'm glad I got your flag.
It's Geico Easy, with licensed agents available 24/7.
49-0! Welcome back to the show, and as you know, this is the Black 14 kicking it. We may not be what you think we should be for television, but we are going to be what we want to be for television. My next person I have on the air this week is John Griffin, number 22. The one thing I think about John is he came here, he earned a job, and then before he can even play 5 games, we had made him lose his job. I know how he had to feel, but one thing about it that I know, speak with him over the years, that this did not define what he was going to be or what he wanted in life. John, welcome to the show, but I want to just say this, John. You know, I was really pissed at you when you went back and played.
Oh, I know you were.
But I was wrong. And I tell you, I want to tell you that on television in front of the fans. I didn't think about it. You know what made me change that was this summer, last summer, when we were talking. And you said, you went to your father and you didn't know what you were going to do.
That's very true.
And that was such an empty feeling for me as well, because it made me go back, because I had to call my mother on October 17th. Now, my father had died the year before, and tell her I didn't have a scholarship. Tell me your feelings with the Black 14 thing, and really because you was having a great season.
Yeah,
You were
was
leading the team in reception.
It's true, it's very true.
And all of a sudden you were out of a job.
Well, you know, I think everybody has a similar feeling. A feeling of anger, a feeling of disappointment, a feeling that, and what Eaton said that day to us, how dare him? How dare him try to define us? And what resonates with me out of everything he said to me, and it made me angry, and I didn't show it that day, and I didn't show it for years. But what made me angry that he said, he referenced 2 black colleges, Grambling and Southern. And he said, you guys, these are the only schools that you can go. Basically, he said, these are the only schools that'll take you. Well, I took that affront on our character. You don't think we're good enough to play at the white schools?
Mm-hmm.
How dare you say that?
In other words, he did us a favor.
He did us a favor. He really did us a favor.
But we were 4-0 at that time in Sugar Bowl looking at it, but he did us a favor.
He did us a favor, and he did an injustice to the University of Wyoming because he killed the program for over 10 years.
Yes, he did.
And he did a foul thing to us. For those of us who could have made the NFL, along with you and Joe, we became angry people. We became militants, malcontents. You could name all the labels that you could put on someone. We were labeled that we weren't.
Even though we weren't those people.
That's right, and we weren't those people. But everybody bought into those labels.
One thing, and I'm going to ask you this. I've never asked you this question, even though we've been talking a long time about this event that we're here now, 50 years of courage.
Yeah.
Was there any time, and I'll start off by saying, let me tell you this. I did have this moment after this happened, when we were off the team. My mother couldn't afford for me to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if I was going to have a school, and one of the Black 14 saved me with that. That I said, maybe I made a mistake.
So you're asking me whether I felt the same way I made a mistake?
Yeah.
No. I stood up for what I believed in.
Exactly.
And I, you know, a couple of years ago when we were in Orlando and the question came up, would you do it again? You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And we said uniformly, we would do it again. Now, you and I talked back, what, 30, 35 years ago?
Our first talk.
First talk. And that was in what, mid to early 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the question came up, would we do this again? Yes, we would.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember you saying to me, we probably would have done it a little differently.
There you go.
And I suspect that differently would be, we'd reach out to white players, just like at the University of Missouri with the black kids who stood up, and the white players jumped into the pool with the black players,
right.
and the coaches jumped in the pool with them,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all unified. Well, that may have been the case, but we chose to stand up as unified brothers to do what we had to do.
John, you went back.
I did.
I know you felt like you had nothing else to do.
It's true.
But tell me your feelings when you went back, and you told me a couple of stories. You know, I know it, and you know you did right, but you had to eat your pride. because you know you wanted to get an education. And I do, when you finish telling me this, I want you to tell me about your career, because I want that from each guy. No matter what you did, you're here today, so that means you were a success.
That's right.
But was it any time when you went back and you told me that horrible story, which I'd like for you to tell the fans, where the coach made you get up in front of a team and was giving them the autonomy
to say yes or no?
Say yes or no.
Yeah, I'll give you, and you know the history, and I'll certainly share this with your viewers. I was a junior, and one of the concerns that I had was, if I transferred out of here, would my credits transfer? Didn't know that. Would I ever play football again? Because back then, and I think that's still in play today, would I be able to play again? I didn't know that. And if I sat out, would I be willing to play again? I don't know. So I looked at those options. Where would I go? And I had called one of my coaches, one of my former coaches in LA, and he had heard about it. And he said to me, he says, if you desire to come back to the city, we will find you a place to land. I never called him back because I had to figure this out for myself. And I called, and you know this, I share this with you. I called my dad 2 months after the fact. It was a twofold conversation. One, I was checking in with my parents because I hadn't talked to him about it. He knew about it. And he picked up the phone and I said, "Hey, Pop," he says, "how you doing?" I said, "I'm all right." He goes, "You all right?" I said, "I'm all right." Out of the same breath, he says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Pop, I don't know. I haven't made that decision." And out of the same breath, he said to me, "Tony, I know you're going to figure it out. You'll figure it out on your own." And
that helped with our growth.
That helped with my growth. It certainly helped with, I'm sure anybody else who would have been in the same situation. It gave me that additional strength to, I'm going to figure this out. And the other thing that you know is, and all of us, we're not going to let this incident define us. I'll be damned if I was going to let that happen to me.
So when you got out, after you played another year, you ended up in the airline business.
Yeah, I ended up in the airline.
Give me a quick summary on that.
Well, there's many stair steps to get to the ultimate prize. And every year, every job I took throughout the years, I learned something. I learned how to be a better manager. I took every little nuance from every person that I interfaced with from a management perspective. I learned from them, and I used what they were doing, and I would fit it into what I do and how I do things. And I worked up all the way up to a directorship with the brand company, which was a Fortune 1000 company, and I became director of operations for their LA office. We did $25 million that year under my group. Then when the brand was sold, I came back and I taught school for a week. And one of my former cowboy friends, Greg Pearson, calls me up and says, United Airlines is hiring, but you ain't going to start on the top. You're going to start on the bottom. But he said to me, he says, I know you and I know where you're going to end up. Just get in the front door. I said, just get me in the front door. I'll make it happen for me. And I moved up and became one of the managers at DIA. And I was one of the supervisory airport operations that designed a concourse ramp operations. That's the first and the second time we did it. And then I became the project manager for the regional vice president for United Airlines.
You know, John, when we've talked a lot, this did not define you.
No.
But you know what it did when you said that gentleman said you got to start from the bottom. That's what the 14 of us did when he put us off the team.
That's right.
He thought it would destroy us. He thought we'd become the parents who would never become parents.
That's right.
He thought we the people would never go home. He thought we the people be in the street, but that never happened. And as I talk to each and every one of you, I see that we were chosen. We were chosen. We were 14 individuals that you could find 14 in this world that would have done that the way we did it. you'd be lucky.
That's right.
And so we were the people that observed it, that did that. We didn't always get the greatest treatment, but one thing, it made us men.
It did, and look at what's going on today. Look how unified we are today.
Exactly.
And you know, the notion of us being on the football field in 2 days, that's pretty special. Because we haven't been on that football field in 50 years, and we're still unified. And you know, the other thing that I look at, and I've certainly shared this with my family, is I thank God that I'm still here to witness this.
Hello. John, thank you for helping me.
You're welcome, Tony.
John
Always a pleasure.
Griffin, number 22, led the team in receptions, went on to become a great man. And I know because for the last 2 years, he and the rest of the Black 14, we've been having meetings and working on this day. But we want you to be part of it because it's more of a story than you think. When we come back, I got another interesting Black 14 person in a minute. I come back to you, and when I was with the Washington Redskins, we had a guy on there, and his number was 44. He took us to the Super Bowl, made the big plays. They called him the Diesel. Well, the Black 14 had a 44 too. Unfortunately, we then had the Black 14. He had just won this job that he had worked all summer so hard to get. 2 games he had to come in and substitute, then 2 games he got a chance to start. His season was going well. He was one of the best running and blocking fullbacks I've ever seen. He had just got here, and we put him in a mess. And on top of that, he was married. His name is Tony Gibson.
Hi, Tony.
Tony,
Yes, sir.
I always wanted to ask you this. You know, we had that meeting the night before, and we told all of you guys that was married, you didn't have to participate in this.
That's right.
Because we knew Eaton was a fool. I'm going to just say it straight out. We knew there was a possibility we'd never play football again. Willie Black lied to us and told the schools wanted us. You had come in, beat out some good talent, won your job, things going right, your wife and you are happy, then all of a sudden we drop a bomb on you to be the Black 14. Give me your thoughts.
Well, it wasn't really a bomb. When I heard the story, especially your story, what had happened to you in previous years playing BYU, I completely understood. And then I found out different things about the Mormon religion and what they expected and didn't expect of African Americans in their church. So it really wasn't a problem for me at all to participate.
You know, you said something that really bring to the forefront. You had to step out on faith because you heard what happened. You heard about the religion.
Mm-hmm.
Before that time, had you ever heard anything about Brigham Young?
No, I hadn't really. I was in junior college and I was just concentrating on my football career and looking forward to what I was going to do after my junior college. And fortunately, Wyoming called and was looking for a running back blocker, and they were interested in me, so I didn't look any further.
When he came back and said you could come back and try out for the team in spring ball, what was your first thought? And I'm going to just tell you mine. Yep. Mine was I'll never play for him again. I'd go out there and try to beat his behind, but I wouldn't go out there to play ball. What was your thoughts?
Well, I actually was never asked. One time I got a phone call from one of the coaches, I believe it was Coach Baker, and he said to me that I was one of the players that he wanted back. And I didn't know if he had contacted other players, and a lot of the 14 probably didn't even know that story. But he asked me if I wanted to come back, and he said, if you make mention in this phone call, I'm going to deny I made this call to you. So he's basically asking me to come back and play for a liar, and I was not going to do that.
And you know, Tony, it's funny you would say that. I did not learn until this year that they had called you and Jay Berry and a few other players and asked you guys to come back. They never would call me. And to me, as you said, and you defined it just right, he was lying.
Oh, yeah.
And he had the coaches to go out and lie for him.
Yeah.
So after you saw you were not going to play any more football, then I think you turned to being successful in whatever you wanted to do. And we've talked about this over and over. It made you the person that you are. It made you do the job that you did well. It made you make your family happy being with them. So you just tell me, what was your movement? What did you feel? Did you feel lost at one time? Because I know I felt lost.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I was going. I knew I had talent to do something, but I didn't know what.
Well, thankful for me, I had a wonderful woman back home, back in the Merit Student Housing waiting for me to come back with the bad news. And we kind of decided together what we were going to do. And what it was, we didn't know. We had no idea. Nobody was calling us from any other schools, like you had mentioned, that we were labeled as troublemakers over this incident that most people didn't know anything about. And they're still learning about it today. They still don't really, they're not getting the whole story until they visit or have a visit with one of the 14. And I have to say, I'm so proud of the 14. I always would be proud of them. I think we're all stand up, we're all successful in our own ways. And I had the help of a young woman though, which was a little different for me. She helped me, we talked about it, we were upset about it, but we hung in together and stayed out here, finished the school year. We both worked, saved our money, and drove back to Massachusetts.
How long you been married?
50 years, August 9th.
How long? I tell you, so you had just gotten married before this happened.
Yep.
And you know what, Tony, I've talked to you over the years. You kept me in touch with Earl Lee and different people. I remember you came to training camp. Your daughter got sick because it was so hot out there.
Yep.
You got sick. And then you've always been a humble person. You've always been a good person.
Thank you.
You know, this situation this year has made me find out that my brothers are still out there. It may not be 14 of us now, but as I've told each and every one, we weren't defined by that. We were mistreated. We were put out there. We were lied to. But at the same time, each and every one went and found their niche in life.
That's right.
And made it work. And I wanted to always tell you, Jay Berry and the other guys who was married, you guys had more courage than any of them because you had someone else depending on you. The rest of us were looking out for ourselves. And I tell you right here, in front of my fans, thank you.
Well, thank you, Tony. That means a lot. It means a lot to me. It really does.
Tony Gibson, our Diesel, number 44. We'll be back.
Oh, great presentation, Tim. Could you email me the part about Geico, making it easy to switch and save hundreds?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You don't know my name, do you?
Of course I know your name. I just get you mixed up with the other guy. What's his name? What's your name?
Switch to Geico. You could save 15% or more on car insurance.
Could you just tell me? I want this to be over.
When you're in college, you have a lot of roommates. And, you know, I'm talking to my last roommate at the University of Wyoming. He was a great roommate, a very quiet guy, one of the fast and craftiest running backs I've seen. Number 23.
24.
Was it 24?
24.
Well, let's see, he wasn't a good roommate then. So, you know, I didn't even know his number. Number 24, because Joe Williams was 23.
Right.
But you know what? He was fighting for a job. He came in. He was behind the 8 ball, but he hung in there and he stayed there. But the one thing I remember, he was so quiet. Ted Williams, number 24, my roomie. And you know, I start off with, you know, Ted, I start off with the Buck talking about the girl that he told me she needed to dress right. and you had to endure me slipping her in the dorm almost every night. You never said a word.
Nope.
You know, and you always have been a great roommate, and I lost contact with you. And I'm so glad that they did this, because, you know, they brought another person back in my life that I had lost contact with that was such a big part of my life. You were coming there, you had finally started getting playing time. They saw what you was doing. You was just like Tony Gibson. You knew running backs in, and you guys had really just got into the flow. Our team was doing well, then this happened.
Right.
Tell me your feelings.
Well, I went with you guys because the way you guys were treated the 2 years before I got there, I figure if that happened to you guys, it's going to happen to me too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why I went with you guys, to find out how to protect you guys plus me coming in. What can we do to protect each other? And before we could say anything, all our dreams were gone. And really, into my mind, I'm thinking about how you picked on right away. And that really upset me, you know. It just, why you? You know, because you're the great defensive end, you know, I don't know.
I appreciate that.
I figure I'd be next in line.
Mm-hmm.
Then, you know, you feel empty, you don't know what you're going to do with your life after that. It's just nothing to do.
Did you feel like you made a wrong decision by choosing Wyoming as your college? Or did you feel like this is the way you was led to come?
I figure your life patterns are already laid out for you. It's the reason why you do things in life. So I figured that was my way of helping my family out. The year before I went there, they had got a tight end from Ventura College. So that, you know, that's not the reason I went there. And it seemed like it was okay. Everything's okay, you know. I went there. You guys treated me good. Then we started playing football, and then it was over with.
When it happened and it was over, did you ever go back and play? They tried to get you to come back as well.
They came back. I wanted to come back, but, you know, none of the white players would talk to me. And back in my mindset, if I came out and played, there was going to be a lot of lookout blocks. I was scared about that. And I called my mom. At the time, this affected my family because I tried not to cry.
That's all right, man.
My dad just started drinking heavy, and he had a stroke. So I blame eating from taking my dad. Sorry, you guys.
Oh, no, man.
I waited for me too soon.
You know, and you find that because my mother went through health issues, and I guess we didn't know as young individuals, this affected our family. And you know why he started drinking? Because he loved you, and he saw that you had been dropped in the net
so
like the rest of us.
From Port Hueneme, it's a small town, and everybody knows everybody. So I thought my dad was probably going to allow the heat, and he couldn't take it. And he didn't want to tell me, and my parents wouldn't tell me. So he took it in the bottle. I don't think it was fair for me or my mom, and he ended up dying with a stroke. And I blame Coach Eden about that.
And you know what? You got the right to do that, because had he not treated us and did what he did, you wouldn't be sitting here talking about it right now. And you know, he died with anger still in him, but he never was man enough to say he was wrong.
I know.
And you know what? You should feel the way you felt, because your father, he felt and he knew that what had probably happened to him sometime in his life was happening to his son.
He was from Tupelo, Louisiana. So it was a short.
He saw you on the brink of success. He saw you with an opportunity to be a big college player, and then he saw a man rip it from you, and what could he do?
So instead of coming back here, I went to Laramie, Wyoming, and worked on the railroad yards for a while, doing the railroad ties for a year. After a year, I got a letter from Adams State College. That's the only reach out for me, so I went there for a year. I played that football and track, and halfway through the season, I got a letter from a semi-pro team in Illinois. So I played 3 years of semi-pro football.
You did.
Yeah, I wanted to play. I wanted to do it. Yeah, I wanted to play a little longer, but my wife got pregnant, so I had to get a job.
Took care of that, right?
Took care of that, yeah.
So you know, and this did not define us.
No.
And you went on and you played semi-pro ball. You did well in your work.
Yes.
But right even now, you're one of the top bowlers in the country.
I try.
Tell me a little bit about it. And
well,
you can't tell me that this didn't help you.
No,
this didn't help you.
Well,
to
I started
be
bowling
good.
to take frustration out of things out of my life, and I found out bowling is harder than I thought. So it made me a little bit better bowler. So I just started finding angles, how to take out certain stuff, and then I started kids to watch me. So I started working with kids, trying to teach them bowling, and I also like to work with special need kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of filling my life right now. Just
What's your average?
I'm averaging 205 right now.
Now, if I told Guillermo Haro that he'd be averaging 206, you know that, don't you?
Yeah, well, I heard it's a bowling alley here on campus.
You got to
so
call him out, man. You know what I mean?
Now, he can talk me to death. I can't do that.
He'll be talking more
He'll
than
talk me to death.
But you know what? The one thing this 50th year of Courage have done for me is I learned a lot. And you told me that story before, and I know how you was hurt.
Right.
Because my father was in civil rights, and he died a young man.
Right.
One time a guy had wrote a letter, and he said, anybody that want to go back, leave this country, I'll pay your way out of there. And my father said, we will go back to Africa. And the Texas oil man didn't like that. Newspapers came from all over the country, and they interviewed my father and everything. And he got a name of being a bad rep. And I think that was part of my thing with Eden. And he was a young, innovative man, and he died at 40 years of age. And he had a lot of pressure on him to be what he can be. And he did a lot of good things. So just remember one thing. Your father died for the good, no matter how he died. And you are the character that he wanted to see. And what you're doing right now, you're still a winner.
Well, I guess the only good thing that Eden did for me, I came to Wyoming and found 13 brothers. Yeah, I'll live and die for. I put my life down for you guys.
Tell me what you are thinking about this 50-year reunion.
Coming back and meeting my family that I missed for 50 years ago. And I hope that we stay in touch for as long as we live together.
And if our wives ever leave us, he and I will be roommates again. This is my roommate, number 24, Ted Williams. We'll be back. I tell you what, when you're out there playing football, you want to know the man next to you is tough as you are more tough. When I met this young man right here, he was a guy from Alabama. I saw him running over people, led the team, a great receiver, and led the team in punt return. He got a name, though. They started calling him the Alabama Buck. Ron Hill.
Hey.
Well, welcome to the show, my man.
Well, thank you, Guy. Thank you.
You know, Buck, you and I go back a long way, and I knew you was always tough. And I'm going to tell this story in front of everybody, so if I'm not going to blush about it, but this is when I knew you the real guy. I had a little girlfriend in school and everything, and she used to run around with short skirts on and everything. You said, hey, man, you need to tell your girl how to dress. You remember that? You know what? I said, that's my man. Mm-hmm. But you know, I also remember you had come that year, you were a team player, waited your turn, became one of our best wide receivers. Then this happened. Tell me where you were on the 17th and what you felt when Eden dropped the bomb on us. How hard you had worked to prepare yourself. Now it was all snatched from you. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't snatched in the right way. It was the wrong way he did it. And he took away your career, your work, and tried to take away your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't so much shocked by it because you understand, I'm from Bessemer, Alabama. And I had seen a lot of things coming up as a kid with different coaches. And to come to Wyoming was, it was really a new field for me. But I had been to junior college on the same similar culture as Wyoming. And I felt real different to hear what he said, because it's kind of like feeling, listening to slave master talk to a slave. Mm-hmm. And I realized that was a part of America's slave master syndrome. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't too much shocked by it because just being from the South, which is supposed to be so much different than the North or the West or the East. But you know, the problem with Lloyd Eaton was he just displayed what the national level was about.
He spoke for the masses.
Yeah, and we just realized it's just a part of that particular time when we were coming up. And plus, he didn't know my background either.
And you just said something I wanted to ask you because when I took it as a personal affrontment from him. I took it as he didn't like me because I did have a background of being, my father and my mother was in civil rights. And I think he knew that when he came. He never had a nice word for me. Even the game that I had 7 sacks in, he never said good game.
Ooh.
Now these people recruited you. Give me, and I'm trying to ask each player something different so our fans can get a whole feel of how all of us felt as a unit and how we felt as individuals. Eaton was supposed to be your head coach. Did you ever feel that he would treat us that way when you were working hard in the summer to get ready for the start of the season, when you was working hard to beat out that wide receiver, you was working hard to be the best punt returner? Did you ever have an inkling that that was the kind of man that you was working hard for?
Oh, definitely not, man. But you live and learn people like him. You live and learn people like him because, like I said, I met a lot of people like him. But he didn't faze me. What bothered me was 14 young men was put in a lost category, and because he had the power, he lied, cheated, and like so much politics goes on today, still he's a part of that syndrome.
And I always talk about this. You had a trial with the Chicago Bears, and I was there and saw it. And I don't never think that they gave you quite an opportunity. And after that trial, did you ever try to play football anywhere else?
No, because I think I told you the situation by me having to come, you getting me the opportunity to come there, is
No,
I didn't want to.
You gave yourself the opportunity.
Yeah. I didn't want to chase
because
ghosts.
you were that good, and you know that.
Yeah, I didn't want to chase ghosts. I mean, I had to move on and do something else because
you told me that.
I met so many young men, even at my age at that time, and I still meet some young men now who think that they want to play the game of professional football, want to try out, you know. But like the older people used to say, you got to think beyond that.
And then throughout your life, whatever you've done it well. Was this part of the thing that helped you to say, whatever I do, I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to try to be fair and right?
Most definitely, Guy. Most definitely, it made me strong. And through a lot of other things that happened in my life, made me strong. You know, my family, my mother, my father. I had a lot of people backing me in times when I didn't have to worry about thinking who I was or what I was. I took that upon myself after a certain time in my life, finding out who I was, and I found out who I was, or what I was.
Well, you know what Eaton didn't realize, he thought he was tearing us down, but he was building us up.
Yeah.
We already had foundations that we would not have been there in the first place. And what you took is what he did to us and made your foundation even stronger.
That's right.
I see that today.
That's right.
I'm telling you, my brother, I haven't seen you since 1971. But it's like it was yesterday.
It's been a while.
I love you the way I love you then, I love you now.
I love you too,
Thank
my
you
brother.
for being the man that you are.
Thank you, Guy.
Ron Hill, number 81, Alabama Buff. Back in the moment.
I saved hundreds on my car insurance when I switched to Geico, and this is how it made me feel. It was like that feeling when you go to taco night at your favorite restaurant, and they're the best tasting tacos in the entire world. And just when you think it couldn't get any better, they bring you out another taco because they made an extra one.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
You know, when you watch teams coming in and you watch the young men coming in, people in my position I'll be watching so they couldn't take my job. People that play defensive back I'll be watching because I know they're going to help me get to the quarterback. When I saw this young man, I knew he could do that. And the one thing about it, he got hurt, but we knew that he'd be a great asset for us. He came in and he was always a great person to be around. He wore number 23. He was really he came over and let the coach curse him out while he was on crutches because he was our brother. I'm talking about Lionel Grimes. We call him Dowdy Grimes. Welcome to the show, Dowdy. What's happening, man?
Man, I don't know.
You know,
just trying to
this
get
whole
along.
thing, you know, Dowdy, you was just trying to get back well so you can get back on the field. And before you can get well, the coach drops the bomb on us, put us off. We didn't know where we was going to go. We didn't know what we would do.
Right.
And the bad thing about it was they never gave you another chance to prove what you could do.
True.
Tell me your feelings. And really what deep down, because I could come and look at your situation and say, you know what? Yeah, they got a chance to play, but it's unfair to me because I was just getting well, getting ready to do what I need to do. And now they did go on and get mad at somebody I don't even know and got all of us put off the team.
Well, that's true. I remember coming to Laramie, Wyoming. I got here in a strange situation. I grew up in a small town in Alliance, Ohio. I was from an athletic family. I was from a very supportive family. We were very high on academics, character, leadership, and strength. And I was fortunate because I had 2 moms, 2 dads, 2 brothers married 2 sisters. So my biological parents were really my biological parents. My aunt and uncle were my parents. They raised me to be the man that I grew to be today. I can remember when we had the meeting, I wasn't quite in the meeting, but I remember the Black Student Union coming up and asked us what we was going to do about it. And Willie Beck brought up about the Mormons and the Latter-day Saints and so on and so forth, and what were we going to do about it as athletes? Well, frankly, I didn't really care about the Mormon religion, didn't know much about the Mormon religion. I just always was the type of individual, but think what you want to think, do what you want to think. It only becomes a problem when you try to make your thoughts become my thoughts. The thing that set me the most was, be honest, you, A.E., and Jay Barry. Those are the 2 people that I came to love and respect like I did the other 12. You were the ones I looked up to when I came onto this campus. You were the 2 that gave me the support when I was injured, because you remember back in those days when horses broke their legs, they killed them.
Right.
And now you get a
horses and brothers.
Now you get a Division I athlete that was in school for academics. And back then they just didn't put you off the team if you maintained your grades. And matter of fact, if you look at a couple of those pictures they took on the, I'll never forget this, on the steps, I went to class because I didn't want to flunk out of school and end up leaving anyway. So I felt like the Mormon religion had nothing to do with it, but how they treated you as the man I looked to, respect, and just treated you like a piece of nothing. And I remember something that Ted normally says, he didn't say it today, when Eaton says A.E., or he didn't call you A.E., he called you McGee, and other things. I remember when you were picking up cigarette butts off the street, and you didn't even smoke.
That's right.
So he didn't even know nothing about you.
I didn't smoke in front of my mama.
Okay. but he didn't know anything about it. But the thing that defined me, I think, was when I called my dad, because look, once again, I was coming to school to play football, to go free. And when I had to call my dad and tell my father that I no longer had a scholarship, he worked in the steel mill. My mother used to, what they call bind carpeting, to help me make it. And when he came in and insulted me like that and insulted my parents, it killed me. And I didn't know how to do it, but when I called him and he explained the situation to him, and he said, son, you're all right. You come on back home.
That meant a lot to you.
And we're gonna get you through school.
And you know, I always remember you were angry at yourself for getting hurt, because you know what you could do.
Right.
And you were just trying to get back.
Right.
And you were getting close to maybe getting back and getting ready, and then this happened.
Right, exactly.
But I always remember you were always a strong young man, and I was just waiting for us to be on the field together.
I appreciate that.
But then you stuck with us, and you said one thing that's real prevalent here. You didn't know anything about the Mormon religion.
No, not at all.
You knew me and Jay Berry.
That's
so
right.
I always had to tell you, I thank you, my brother, for believing in me, because maybe I led you in the wrong way.
No.
But one thing about it was out of love.
Oh, no.
So as you got out and you went home, what transpired?
Well, when I first went home, I got to thinking about what that man said to me, insulted my family, my ancestry. So I tried to go to a historically black college, and I went to Central State University.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't feel right.
That's in Ohio?
Wilberforce, Ohio.
Wilberforce.
It just didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to school and doing my academics, because academics always came first, because in our household, we were all athletes.
Mm-hmm.
But if your grades wasn't right, you couldn't play. That wasn't the coach's rule, that was my dad's rule.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about a C, I had to do B's and A's, because C is average. And if you go to school every day, you're supposed to get a C.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that, I went there and I didn't like it. So I heard this phone call again. I wasn't getting kicked out of school, but I didn't want to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my dad again. I said, Dad, I don't like it. He said, wow. He said, Dowdy, this is second school in 2 years. You think it might be you? I said, no. I said, no, I don't think it's me, Dad. I said, this is not the real world for me. I need to be around people. There's a multitude of different cultures and people in the world, and I want to be amongst them. I said, if there's any color I've seen and you taught me, it's green. You treat a man like they treat you. And so I transferred for the third time, well, the second time actually. And I went to a small college in Findlay, Ohio. Back then it was called Findlay College, which has now become University of Findlay. And they treated me well, but the black 14 followed me there because I didn't know. Every day this football coach came up to me and asked me if I want to play football. I said, nah, I don't think so. I have enough football. I would go to the NBA, play basketball, and he'd come to coach again. Hey, Grimes, you want to play football? No, I don't want to play. Finally, I said, sir, you don't have the money. You're not giving me any money to go to school. If my dad, my parents, and I are going to work, I'm going to work and have fun and do what I want to do. I don't want to play football. Plus, I have injuries, and you don't have the capabilities to service me. Lo and behold, come baseball season, which is my love in sports, he the baseball coach. He said, Grimes, I'm a catcher. I never got to catch. He had a belief, another racist, biggest kind of guy, that black people couldn't be catchers. That was a leadership position.
Yes.
You had to be outfielders. Kind of back in the day, when black people weren't centers because that they called all the lines.
Exactly.
So he didn't let me play.
We had two parts to this show. On February the 20th, part 1 will air at 9 p.m. and part 2 at 10 p.m. February the 26th, part 1 will air at 9 p.m. February the 27th, part 2 will air at 3 p.m. February the 29th, part 1 will air at 4 p.m. and part 2 at 5 p.m. Enjoy. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show, and if you're interested in the Black 14 t-shirts, just go to black14.net. We have hoodies, we have long sleeve, short sleeve, women, men, children. We'll get them to you as soon as we can, but you got to visit there to get them.